Welcome back to the Lords of Lore podcast. I'm Matt.
I'm Luca.
I'm Will.
And this is the podcast for all things fantasy and sci-fi nerddom. Hey, maybe you want to change our tagline and make us say a wacky, silly thing. You can do so if you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast, and in your review, leave the tagline you'd prefer for the show. And let us know what you think of the episodes and the podcast and all that other fun stuff. Today, we are continuing our series on classes, ways to classify people in fantasy and sci-fi, but we're taking the formats from D&D to do so. So working our way alphabetically, we have now landed on monks. And important to note, we have 2 more episodes in this class, or in this series, I should say. Rogues being the next, and then we are combining all of the arcane, not arcane, I guess, but all the spell casting classes that aren't druids into one large episode where we can talk about the differences between those casting classes and our preferences. But after that, we'll have exciting end to the month if everything works out in time. And we'll be releasing our play of D&D where we choose a class that we are less likely to play in our everyday life, and we'll be playing through a game that way. So before we start talking about monks, we need to get to Luca's Litany of Literature, wherein Luca has the podcast within the podcast and tells us a little bit about the fantasy goings-on of his week. So after that, I'll get into the monster of the week, and then we'll start off our main topic with some wondrous wisdom on the origins of monks. So, Luca, what's going on?
Honestly, not as much as usual. I took a break from Malazan just for the week because the ending of book 7 did something horrifying to me personally by killing one of my favorite characters. And I needed some time.
Yeah.
I'm
You're in mourning.
I mean, honestly, for like a couple minutes after hearing it, I was like, yo,
yeah,
not cool. Like I paused it. I was like, that was not what I wanted to hear right now.
Yeah.
So I've started book 8, but I'm not super far into it. I like listened to the prologue and like part of chapter 1, and I was like, I'm taking a break. So I started reading Oathbringer again, which is Stormlight.
Okay.
And it's been a long time since I picked up, because I have the 4th book and I haven't touched it in like nearly a year now. It came out in November 2020. So I've been trying to finish Oathbringer. And unfortunately, that's all I have to talk about. I've read like 2 chapters of Oathbringer.
I think
so we can talk about stagnation in a series. I've not touched Malazan for a week at all, and I'm picking up Oathbringer, which I have not touched for like 4 months before now. So that's how I read sometimes. I don't know what you guys do when you are either personally attacked by a story that you're listening to or reading, or when you just like lose interest.
I think it's interesting comparing it to movies or television or even a game, because a book, but maybe a game is similar to what I'm about to say, but a book you can literally put down, you know?
Yeah.
If you're in the movie theater, you're not going to get up and leave necessarily. If you're watching TV, you'll probably finish the episode. But a book is just like, no.
Yeah, like I'm not enjoying this chapter.
Yeah.
Bookmark, close, see
and
in a
then
couple weeks.
It's something you physically have to pick up to start again. And reading a book is a singular experience. Like you have to do that by your own. You don't really share a book and read it at the same time as somebody else. That'd be strange. I'm sure some people do that, but
book club.
Yeah, but even then, like you're still reading it by yourself and then getting together. Like we do on our show called Ruminations that you can check out where me and Luca do book reviews. But yeah, I don't know. So I don't, there's been a few books I've stopped listening to or stopped reading because I wasn't into it. I read it before, or I don't know. I just started doing other things and then come back and then I'm like, oh, I wish I had kept reading. But I'd say most of the time, if I put something down, it stays down. And
Right.
that's just how it stays. But also there's series I start the first book and I love this series. I'm like, I can't wait to get into the other books. I just haven't started them yet.
Right.
I'm just busy.
Yep. Actually, I listened to the first book in the Powder Mage trilogy. I don't know if you guys have heard of that.
Nope.
It's like essentially, I don't even know what that time was called in our history, but the invention of black powder, like when people started using guns, like that sort of time period with magic.
Nice.
I finished the first book. I thought it was really good, and I was like excited to start the second, and I put it on my Audible, but just never started it.
Yeah. I have a ton of, because you get the credit every month. I'm always like, oh, what book will I buy and eventually listen to 6 months from now? You know? So yeah, there's a few. And like what I'll do is like, if I'm supposed to be reading something else for like ruminations or something, I'll like have all these credits pile up. Like, well, I might as well buy books 2, 3, 4, and 5 of this series I'm reading. I just have this whole series of books. I'm like one book into it. It's been 6 months. Like, yeah. What about you, Will?
I'm probably the worst for this. I like currently right now I have like 5 books on the go. It's like,
that you're reading all at once?
Yeah. It's also another bad habit I have.
I used to do that in elementary school as a flex. I'd have like fucking 4 fantasy books I checked out from the library. People would be like, what's this one about? And I'm like, well, let me tell you.
Yeah. And like
I was bored to do this show.
It's like I alternate just like depending on like what mood I'm in and stuff. Because like I have a couple. Have you guys? I'm going to talk about one of them, the series, in a little bit. But like the Metro 2033 series, the first book is like really good. Highly recommend it.
Is this like? Was there a game made about this series?
Yeah,
Last Light or whatever.
Yeah, that was
okay.
The third one, I believe.
This is like a Russian post-apocalyptic sci-fi.
Kind of like the books, like the novels are like definitely more fantasy than how they're like portrayed like in game. I don't know. The first book is like, I think is like fantastic. I don't think the third one has even been like translated to English yet, but the second one, I don't know, kind of sucked. It's not that it was like bad writing or anything like that. It was just like super boring compared. Like I thought the first one was like a masterpiece, like probably one of the best, I guess, like world literature, like books I've ever read. And then the second one was just like super boring. But so I'm like reading that, and then just like a bunch of other like, I guess like environment stuff, nature books. I don't know.
I have a tough time with alternating. Like if I'm reading something, I have to finish that one thing before I would jump another. I say that out loud now, and now I'm realizing that's not entirely accurate. But like, I would never stop a movie midway and then start watching another movie. You know what I mean? But if I get to like a natural breaking point in a story, like first book or like, you know, first part of a book, I'll be like, okay, I got to cleanse the palate a little bit. This is sad.
Right.
You know, go watch some Star Wars or whatever.
So yeah, I've had a break of a week essentially.
Well, good. We'll be doing the Sword of Kaigen as our next Ruminations episode. So if you want to participate in that conversation and hear what we have to say about it, you can start reading that book now. And by the end of the month, we'll be able to chat about it. Okay, cool. So another entry of the litany completed. And we'll move on to Matt's Monster Musings. This week, let's try this again. This will work surely because it worked so great last time. Okay, so you're what were your characters again?
I think we were both elves.
Yes, one was a rogue and one was a I don't know.
Gnome. I'll take gnome.
Okay, you're a gnome barbarian, Will, and Luca, you're an elf rogue.
Perfect.
Okay, so you work out of this city, like we said. And last week, there was this really wild, intense storm, lightning storm in the forest nearby. Okay, so the roads were closed; no carts could travel through there. One cart managed to make it through during the storm and was telling about how bad it is. But since the storm has cleared up, travelers and merchants have begun, uh, you know, traveling back through, and none of them have been heard from since. So you were sent to investigate what may be going on in the forest. We're thinking probably bandits. And so you've been sent to deal with them. So you travel through this forest. Your feet are making sounds in the splishy mud. And eventually you come to this on the road. There's like this large mass of vine and trees and bush life, almost a swamp like. And you have to pass it to keep going. Do you investigate this mass at all?
No, we went through this last time. we don't investigate in
Which
this.
I planned for. So you just continue walking through the road?
Well, now.
No, metagame.
We steer well clear, and I would.
It's in the way. So.
Oof. Well, I would walk around as far as possible from.
I turn the other way. Walk away.
You're going through the trees.
You turn around, walk away.
You're all about your coin, though. You're a gnome barbarian.
This is true.
I mean, if it's just like if it's a pile of stuff on the road, sure, let's investigate. Let's see what's up.
Wah! A head made of all this material reaches forth and grabs you, and this hulking form of vine and all the other things I said earlier comes to life. You see teeth made of stone, this humanoid hulking figure, and you are staring at a shambling mound. Shambling mound. So what is a shambling mound? It's this. You see, it's made out of roots and vines and fungus, and it's got stone teeth. Yep. So what happens is when there's a lightning bolt hits into the ground of a forest or a swamp-like area, it creates this type of creature. This creature is an omnivore, so it feeds on plant life and meat alike, and it eats people, not by using its rock teeth. Those are for show. Don't worry about that. We'll get to that in a second. But it just engulfs people in its vine and swamp-like being and crushes them or asphyxiates them, and they die. Now, so you would think, hey, I want to make a shambling mound. Maybe I just use a lightning bolt and into some swamp. No, it doesn't work that way. Many wizards have tried. Many druids have tried. It does not work that way, which leads people to believe this being is created by some sort of elemental lord of a different plane of existence using lightning to bring these creatures to life. Some people believe that shambling mounds were the first attempt that the gods made to make humanoid figures. And the lightning hitting them is just a process that wasn't taken out when things were solidified later on. But I say, fuck that. In my games, I make wizards make these things all the time. Luca, you may remember in a town called Lake Dunov, you encountered a strange man who later, confronted you guys and then rowed a boat into the middle of a lake and did a magic thing, and this thing came out of the lake.
Yep. I remember.
I've used these a lot in games because I think they're awesome. Sort of reminds me of like Swamp Thing from DC or Man Thing from Marvel, that sort of vibe. You see this type of creature a lot in fantasy and cartoons and all that kind of stuff. This corruption of nature that's turned into this disgusting thing. Also like that episode of Avatar where the swamp men, the swamp benders. This is sort of that same kind of vibe too.
Also, that
Yeah.
episode of Love, Death, Robots in the garbage dump.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Also characters from DC, like obviously Poison Ivy, but Solomon Grundy, I believe his name is.
Yep.
It's like a zombie plant being type of thing. And also like Clayface. Like a combination between those two beings. But yeah, Love, Death, Robots, that's also a great example. That episode's fucking terrifying.
So gross.
Or like the alligator you flushed down the toilet as a kid. Remember that story?
Oh yeah, and it just like grows eating.
Grows into like this. Yeah, it becomes Killer Croc. Yeah. So thoughts on the Shambling Mound?
I would say dislike. I did not like fighting it.
Yeah.
It completely neutralizes my favorite spell in the game, Fireball.
That it does. I should mention that as well. Immune to fire because it's made of this swamp. So, burning it as you would think other like tree natural beings like a tree ant, say, or a dryad, fire super potent. So
work.
you might think it was made by lightning. I'll just lightning it and it'll go dead. Wrong. A lightning spell against one of these, actually, the amount of damage you do, it gains that. So a really funny moment. And before you joined the campaign, Luca, this they were fighting one of these because I have no original ideas, I guess. And somebody was like, "Move out of the way!" and like cast like lightning something, like that druid spell that call lightning.
Yeah.
It was like, guys, I got it. It's like 30 points of damage, and the thing just starts like regenerating. It's so funny. Yeah, I think it murked one of them in that fight. But yeah, Will, thoughts on the Shambling Mound?
Are they squishy? Does it like? I guess does it like change like texture depending on the weather?
I'm sure it could. Like, so the way they don't grow naturally, like by consuming things, they they would have to be hit by another lightning bolt, and then they can grow to like abnormal, like huge sizes, which I think would be also cool. But I guess you could put a lightning bolt hits into sand somewhere, and that too could create a shambling something or other.
Glass.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe a glass golem type thing. That'd be cool too. But yeah, I guess like as it goes through the forest or the swamp, it could just be picking up more pieces to add to itself, becoming this like giant thing, like the garbage monster.
Yeah, this is like the first time I've ever heard of this creature, but it reminds me of like that one like classic D&D creature, like the jelly cube thing. It's just like
gelatinous cube, yeah.
That's what I'm like picturing right now, like Muck from Pokemon.
Sort of more like Muck. Like us, okay. So I'd say Muck is more like a black pudding.
Yeah.
Gelatinous cube is like a very specific dumb thing. You know what? Next week I'll do gelatinous cube because I'd love to talk about gelatinous cubes. Have you guys? Yeah, we'll talk about it next week. But yeah, this is more like, if I had to put it, what would you say, Luca? If you had to map a Pokemon onto this creature?
Pokemon?
Yeah.
The garbage Pokemon.
Yeah.
The giant garbage one.
Yeah.
Garbodor, I think it's called.
Nice.
Yeah.
That would work too. Yeah.
The giant garbage guy.
Huh.
Because it's not like a.
Sorry, go ahead.
It doesn't have like an organic body from like what I mean, like it's a bunch of debris come together alive, right?
Well, so it doesn't have a brain, but it has this root system that serves as like its spinal cord, not necessarily going through its back, but like it's what controls everything, and it sends electronic pulses out that control it.
Okay, so it's just like a central nervous system that controls all the debris.
Yeah.
So,
damn.
Theoretically, it could be made from any material.
And I think that'd be like you could have a shambling mound in like in Arctic forest or something. It's just like a giant snowman, iceman type of thing. Yeah, I think that'd be cool too.
I think I'm probably gonna have to take last week's the ray
El
thing.
Quiero.
Yeah, because I mean, just like don't go into the water.
Yeah.
But this thing, like, it could just like sounds like it like pop up like wherever there's been some mayhem going on.
Yeah, and the difference too, I guess, between the two, the Shambling Mound's actually intelligent. It can't speak or anything unless you have like speak with plants. Then you could sort of understand it. But it's intelligent in that it knows what it's doing, but it's not like intelligent and like I'm doing this to balance the forest or whatever. It's like I'm hungry. That's like basically it. But you can speak with it if you have access to those spells. What about you, Luca? Would you take this or the El Quiero?
I don't know. Maybe even this. Maybe this. I mean, they're slow, right? From what I remember, they can't move fast.
I want to say their movement speed's like 30. Maybe it's 20.
Pretty fast, actually.
Let me look it up.
And what's its intelligence? I'm just curious.
Like the actual stat. So intelligence is 5, so -3.
Nice.
And its speed is 20 feet. Yeah.
Okay.
So they are slower than most people.
Yeah, I would definitely take this then.
Yeah, that's fair.
I would run away.
Did you have something, Will?
No, I'm just like, what if this thing like falls into the water? Like, what would happen?
It can swim.
Oh,
It has a swim speed of 20 feet. And I would like, okay, so that's how, like, again, Luca, in our campaign, it was like a mass of like whatever was at the bottom of this lake.
Yeah.
It was just like trees and like a boot, I think I said. But yeah, I didn't put like, I don't see why it would need to breathe. I don't know if it says on here whether or not it actually has water breathing, but my headcanon was it wouldn't need to. So it just walked along the bottom of the lake
creepy.
to the and then came up, and then I think you guys fought it like on the docks or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think I would still take El Quiero. Just because it's like, I mean, again, just like stay out of the water.
Yeah, less mobile for sure. Yeah.
And like, I mean, like obviously like in the water, that sounds like more terrifying, but I mean, like a shambling mound, like the way I'm picturing is it's like it just like, it's like a golem, like it just like never stops or like has to like really take a break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it could just like slowly pursue you, and that's kind of terrifying. It's just
just singularly focused.
Like, what if you had like a campaign where it's just like, just like follows like one person for like forever?
I mean, you just come across like in the desert this like dried out husk of stuff. It's like help.
Yeah, actually, I saw like this like B movie that was pretty much that with like a zombie though. It was just like a person, like she was like running away from like a zombie, and it just like wouldn't stop shambling. Like it would like never like stop to like, so every time she'd like sleep, it would get like closer to her and stuff. It was pretty terrifying, but it was also like a B movie. So
I just thought of something. There's like this giant poo creature that could also be a shambling mound. I think from like, no, not maybe in D&D, but I'm thinking of the one from like that one video game, like Bad Fur Day. Conker's Bad Fur. Yeah. Where he fights the great poo. But I would make a shambling mound just like some sort of lightning bolt hits like wherever, like medieval fantasy, like wherever they're stored all their shit.
It just give me El Quiero, man. I don't need that.
It sounds like something that would like you'd see like pop up like in The Witcher.
Yeah.
It sounds like the type of monster that would be like a massive pain to like a town or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I would also put like this could be one of the things like the dryad like creates in order to like protect the forest.
Ooh. Or a druid.
Or a druid, yes, of course. So yeah, I sort of forego that rule of it has to be created by a lightning bolt specifically. I think I mentioned before in the previous iteration of the campaign you were in, Luca. So before you joined, there was this fallen Asimar that was like the main villain for like levels 1 through 5. And he was like he had gone a little bit off the rails, dealing with some grief, but his feathers would fall off and corrupt the stuff around them. So that's how that first Shambling mound came to be. It was like one of his feathers had fallen off and like made the earth mad or whatever. Yeah, so that'll do it for Matt's monster musings. So now let's jump into Will's wondrous wisdom. Tell us the origins of monks.
Man, this is like another like super broad one that it was kind of like I mean, like, I guess pretty much like any form. I'm just gonna go with like organized religion.
That's okay.
I don't know. That's kind of like how I was picturing it. Like, I mean, definitely whenever, like, I'm like looking at like my D&D handbook right now, like for 5th edition, and like, I mean, the imagery that's used is definitely like Buddhist monk.
Yeah, so I think it's confusing when you say D&D monk, because over the different editions of D&D, first they were Catholic monks or whatever that's called.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And they were like the cleric of that time. And then throughout editions, I think it's not until 3rd edition they actually become like more like Buddhist monks, with like the not resurgence, but the initial wave of kung fu movies coming over to like America and stuff. Gaining popularity.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's definitely like when I think of like monk, that's exactly what I think is like Buddhist monk.
Yeah.
Which like I like tried, because like I mean, like, I have like a super basic understanding of like Buddhist monk stuff, but like, I mean, that's a very in-depth rabbit hole to go down, especially with all like the different iterations across the world and stuff.
Right.
I mean, definitely like cool, because like I personally, like, martial arts movies are like one of my favorite like genres. But I mean, like, I definitely would hesitate right now to like comment on its origins and stuff like that, because yeah, I mean, they're like, man, there's like so much information, like when you just type in like Buddhist monk. I mean, like, I know like Christian monk and stuff like that, because like I remember like taking like this classics class during my undergrad, and we kind of like talked about like how like monastic traditions began with like Catholicism, which like actually began like kind of more so like late Roman era / like early Byzantine, which is like when people started to like kind of just take off outside of like cities and stuff to live alone, or like in small communes and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of boring. Like, I don't know, just in my opinion, because like for example, like we all know like Vikings and stuff like that, and like they basically had their economy like based around like just like fucking up monasteries and stuff, like in England, really, and like Ireland and stuff like that. So
yeah, even the show, like, I don't know if you've seen the show Vikings.
I watched like the first episode, and that's like pretty much like how it was. Like,
yeah, they basically like kidnap this monk from one of the monasteries they sack and like bring them home to like live among them. It's fucking so funny. At one point, the Viking like leader, like the protagonist, like wakes him up in his sleep. He's like, "Yo, come bang my wife with me." The guy's like, "No." He's like a little fucking, obviously abstinent monk. Fucking, it's just so funny.
Yeah. Which is like kind of strange, because like again, like I can't even comment on like, because I just like don't know like exactly like, I guess, like which group / sect of like Buddhist monks, but there's definitely like some martial arts and stuff like that was taught in certain areas,
and there's definitely like a westernization of it too, like a I should say bastardization of like, oh yeah, monks, you ninjas. And it's very much not one and the same. But I think the monk in D&D in 5th edition is a ninja versus a ninja combined with a Buddhist monk.
I actually like, because like I'll be honest, like I never really like actually. It's been a while since I opened this book because like I have it open with me right now, and I just saw like Way of Shadow when Luca was talking. I was like, the fuck, like, are ninjas just fighters? But
well, sort of.
I mean, I guess
See,
if they're not using
this goes back to what we talked about last week in that fighter is just too broad of a name. Like everything's a fighter. Like maybe a druid's not, but everything else pretty much is.
I mean, unless they're using Cloak of Shadows and Shadow Step. Yes. Which I think fighters can use Shadow Step, can't they?
Well, they can, if they have access to magic, they can use Misty Step, which is a little bit different.
Yeah.
Should we start getting into the D&D specifics of
monks?
Monk? Yeah, I think that's Let's swap it up because, like, again, like, I mean, like, there's like so much because, like, this, I don't know, man. Like,
no, this is not a podcast about religion, like,
Yeah, and like not even that, like, especially when it comes to like Buddhist monks and like obviously like I guess like Hinduism and stuff like that. It's like almost like not really religion. Again, apologies if I sound ignorant, but like it's like the way I see it is like it's almost also tied to like culture and like life ways and stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So like I don't know. I actually like I bought like this book, but it's like a basic like how-to guidebook that was like released by like the Ministry of like Tibetan like culture.
Oh, cool.
Exchange or whatever, and it's like super old. Like you can tell this thing is for like from the 90s.
I straight up thought you were gonna say How to Ninja.
No, but like it gives like a description and like a little picture of like different like symbols and stuff like that. But like even then, like my head was spinning. So yeah.
No, I think maybe, and again, I don't want to sound ignorant either, but the overall concept that's been adopted into D&D from Buddhist monks or monks in general is the concept of like oneness or like self fulfillment, maybe not the right word, but being the best version of yourself you can be without I don't know, oneness is sort of how I would describe it.
Spiritual enlightenment.
Yes. But the way that's translated into D&D is taking your body to like the nth and just being like this basically like magical warrior without ever having to use magic. Like your body. Yeah, you have this other type of energy, which, we've heard it been called ki, chi, chakra, whatever, in various different media. And that's just D&D's type is ki. So yeah, monks in D&D, you have the magic of ki. So you can use that to, perform more actions during combat. You can use it to do like a whole number of things depending on your monastic tradition. But yeah, you're like this unarmed fighter. Some use weapons, but mostly unarmed fighter. And your body is you're just jacked basically.
I mean, timeless body.
Fit. Yeah.
Like, just ultra fit.
Yeah, when you reach 20th level, you just stop aging. Or sorry, it's 15th level.
No longer need food or water.
Yeah, 20th level is called perfect self. And you no longer need food or water. That's insane. Yeah, I think some of the, but yeah, that's essentially what it is you're a super powerful ninja, godly type being. So it's every shonen anime, anything like that. Any sort of kung fu ninja movie. But yeah, let's get into monastic traditions. So there's a few that are new I'm not familiar with, but in the base player's handbook, you have Way of the Open Hand, Way of the Four Elements, and then Way of the Shadow. I think are the three there.
Yeah, that's it. I'm literally open on the page.
But then obviously, okay, so out of those three, I'm going Way of Shadows, definitely my favorite. Open Hand is super cool. I'll get into something about it later. It's super funny to me. But then we have Way of the Drunken Master, which is sort of like a trope from those kung fu movies.
Yeah.
And just in general, it was super awesome. Way of the Astral Self, which Luca, you ran for one in your campaign. It's like a Shaman King, that show, if anyone's ever seen it. Deep cuts, I know. But yeah, you basically have this being attached to you, almost like a warlock, but you're using their astral. Oh, is that how? Yeah.
I think it's a little bit more apt.
Yeah. Way of Mercy, which I'm not familiar with, but this one's more flavored as like a Catholic monk. You're basically like a doctor. Like that's how it's described in the book. Way of the Kensei, think of Tenten from Naruto, just like a weapons master. And then Way of the Sun Soul, again, one I'm not very familiar with. Way of the Ascendant Dragon, not sure what that one is, but that sounds really cool. And then there's the Way of the Cobalt Soul, which is like sort of like the combination, not the combination, but the monk's equivalent to like a wizard, where it's like their power comes from knowledge type of thing, and they worship the goddess of knowledge, Ayun, and that's a Critical Role 1 specific. So I think that's any questions about monks in D&D?
Nah, man. Let's get into it.
All right, let's get into it. So we'll start with you then, Luca. What are some of your favorite examples of monks?
I mean, obviously, Aang.
Yeah, which is just a Way of the Four Elements monk.
Like it almost feels like they made that subclass so people could play as Aang.
Yeah,
that's like, I'm just looking at it like Cone of Cold and like Thunderwave.
Yeah,
I guess maybe not Thunderwave.
If you want to role play as an avatar, that's the best way, I think. You could also do a druid, but that's a pretty good way as well. Aang is also on my list. Of
course.
A monk in visual representation as well as their character traits.
Yeah.
You know? And I think airbenders are more suited to monk than any other of the different types of benders because they're like solitude and they're strict sort of regimen and stuff like that.
Yes. I had Monk Miroku from Inuyasha.
Which one is that? Which
guy with the hole in his hand?
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I guess. Like, yeah. Man, that guy's such a shyster. Holy.
He's a monk, though.
Yeah, he is a monk. He's a fraud, but he is a monk. Yeah. I love when he I think it's like the first or second episode he comes into the story. He like tells this man there's like a dark cloud over his house, and if he lets him and his friends stay there, he'll fix it. And like the whole thing was like an illusion that he set up.
Yeah.
And then he just like sleeps with his daughter and like dips. Yeah,
he was I didn't say he was a good person, but
yeah. How did he get the hole in his hand again?
I honestly don't remember.
It's really cool though. It's like this hole in his hand, when he uncovers it, it sucks everything in its path.
And it like slowly grows
till eventually it'll suck him up too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Super dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
there's
ahead.
Norio from Ghost of Tsushima. He is a warrior monk. I don't know. You guys have played far enough into the game to meet Norio.
Have you finished this?
I haven't yet.
Okay, yeah, his like storyline's like one of the best.
Okay, awesome. I've got like halfway through his.
I won't say anymore, but
excellent. He's super cool. He's got like a giant, those like spear. I don't know what they're called. It's like a giant blade at the end of like a spear shaft.
Yeah, a glaive.
They have like a name for it in the game, but I can't remember what they call it. Like a traditional name, probably. And then there's like a couple of characters that could technically fall into the monk class from like books I've read. There's like a couple from Malazan, but even they more fall under the like sort of warlock class.
Okay.
Plus I don't want to get into it because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys because I've talked about a couple of these characters already. And then they have like changes throughout the story and they become something.
Can I guess?
Sure.
Is this the guy who loses his hand, gets godly hands from some god?
No, but
Okay.
maybe.
Not even
Won't
close.
spoil anything.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, like I can't even think of like from just like actually I'm lying. There is one book. See, this is another thing. I started it, but I haven't finished it. It's called The Poppy Wars, the Poppy Wars trilogy. I think it actually just got signed for like a TV show adaptation, but I could be wrong about that.
I remember hearing that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's apparently excellent, like one of the best modern fantasy stories. But I have not finished it, and I think the magic system there can sort of fall under monk class. And then like Matt, how far are you into the Sword of Kaigen?
I haven't started yet. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I guess an argument could be made for some of the characters in it, but again, I don't want to spoil anything, especially for that. But yeah, like I find Monk was the hardest for me to find in the books that I've read, and like anime is all over the place, like minor characters and side characters and stuff, but in books and like in just classic fantasy, like not much. In modern fantasy more so, but again, I haven't read all of it modern fantasy because there's so much. But
yeah, I think it's tough too with Monk because there's, like Will was saying, like the way of life aspect to it. That's one way to look at it, and then also like the D&D, essentially just being a ninja.
Yeah.
There's that as well. So it's tough to like. Some characters are called monks in stories, but they can't punch people, you know, and vice versa.
Yeah, because a lot of the time somebody that's called a monk in a fantasy story is more like a cleric in a church type, like a religious leader or like member of a church or some religion, or like a temple or something. But like they're not like, you wouldn't call them a monk in D&D, you'd call them like a civilian, you know, like an NPC.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like, yeah, it just I know that there is like a few stories that use like ki or chi or like chakra, or like they obviously call it whatever, but like that sort of concept where it's like your inner power that you can like slowly like broaden, where you're not like drawing from an outside source or knowledge, just like by meditating and training and like rigid discipline and spiritual purity, you gain more of this energy.
Yeah.
But I would like to see more of them because I think it's a really cool character type.
But I'll go over my list now here. So I went more the other side of it, more the perfectness of self, you know. So I had Aang as my first one as well. Again, perfect for Way of the Four Elements monk. I put Rock Lee because in a world full of people with fucking crazy powers, he's like, yeah, I'm just going to be really good at kicking people in the face. So I think he may have come up on Fighters as well. Same type of thing. But if I was playing Rock Lee in D&D, I'd definitely played as a monk. Just because
especially the inner gates.
Yes. Yeah. So I also had Guy Sensei shortly after in that powering up. Yes, so cool. I put Naruto. Now I'm gonna leave this until next episode because I actually see Naruto more as a warlock.
Okay.
If I was playing Naruto in an RPG or like I wanted to play a character like that, I'm totally going warlock. And like a warlock pugilist, like just like an unarmed fighter, and like my packed weapon is like a gauntlet or something. That's how I'd played Naruto. And we'll get into that next week, I guess. Or sorry, 2 weeks from now. One Punch Man, same thing, just perfect monk. He's just like, I really want to punch people. And here I am. I did it. I did
master
a bunch of
self-discipline as well.
Yeah. I put, this is a stupid one. I put Rocky Balboa. Because that's funny.
Fantasy character.
No, he's not, but
he's a fighter through and through.
Yeah, I'd say. There's Beauregard, a character from Critical Role. And like I said, she's part of that order, the Cobalt Soul, who are more dedicated to knowledge than anything else. It's really cool though. So there's like a whole network of them across the land where you can like go and get information from. And again, they serve the goddess of knowledge. So it's I think it brings more depth to the monk, which can sometimes feel shallow. Just being like, yeah, I punch things hard and I can kick a lot. This was sort of like a nice fresh take on what a monk can be. More so like I study my body so I can make my body as like powerful as it can be, type of thing. There's a move for that subclass where you punch something and you extract its aspects, so you get to learn what it's resistant and vulnerable to. And I think there's one other thing you learn about it, but yeah, she basically just punches someone so hard she can like feel everything about their body, like sort of like Toph sense, but like with a fist.
That's awesome. That's actually so cool. Like that's cooler than any monk ability I've heard of yet.
Well, Shadow Step is pretty cool.
Okay, no, true.
So I put Nightcrawler on my list. If I was playing Nightcrawler, I would go Shadow, like basically what Ashish did as Zuri. I'd go probably like 7 levels of RIP, 7 levels of Shadow Monk, and then subclass into Rogue, because Shadow Monk lets you teleport unlimited amount of times as a bonus action into any shadow. So I was thinking about playing one of these characters, and like my move would always be come in with like a light and like throw it in the middle of the room, and now there's shadow everywhere, depending on the room, I guess. But I put Batman because just that's all he is a martial artist, various forms of martial art, and has his body in ridiculous shape all the time. For the same reason, I put Black Panther. Obviously, there's like some fantastic powers gained in that way, but it's a monk, so it could be whatever. And then last one, another Avatar example, I put the Equalists. Is it called Ki or Chi in Avatar? I think it's Chi.
Chi.
Yeah, the Chi blockers. Because where again everyone has powers in this world similar to like Rock Lee, they've studied the human body in order to stop people to be able to use those powers. So like a really cool, I'm just a human, so I'm going to be the best I can be, and I can beat you even if you have fire coming out of your hands or whatever.
True.
So that's a cool
one. That's a good one.
Damn.
Go ahead, Will.
I have quite a bit actually.
Yes. No, the Rangers.
First one, the blind moth priests from Elder Scrolls. So they were in Skyrim, specifically with the DLC for the Dawn Guard.
Okay.
Like they're more. There's like a major quest line in like Oblivion, because like they're it's like a sect that's like devoted to like studying like the Elder Scrolls, but like they have like this thing where they have like this super strict training process, and then like once they actually start to like read these scrolls, because like they're basically just like windows to like infinity, that they just like lose their eyesight.
Shit.
Hence the name Blind Moth Priests, because like if you don't like read these scrolls under like specific conditions, which is a little bit more explored in Skyrim, then like they lose their eyesight. But there's like a quest line in Oblivion where you have to like steal an Elder Scroll. So like you go into like this like underground cave parts like underneath their temple, and like that's where like all the blind priests are, and like it's like pitch black and like you can't see anything, but again they're all blind, right? But like you have to like sneak around and stuff like that. But like if you like alert them, they'll just like instantly fuck you up like hard, because they just have like katanas and just like unarmed strikes, and they like move like super fast. Definitely like one of my favorite things.
Sort of has like Daredevil vibes.
Kind of, yeah. I guess
which should probably be on my list as well.
Yeah, I guess like more so like Stick would be from Daredevil. Yeah. I mean, if we're gonna talk about Marvel, I guess like Iron Fist and that whole
Yeah, literally, it's on my list. I skipped over it.
Yeah.
I fucking just missed it.
My second one is actually for a video game is
Ooh.
the Senpo monks from Sekiro. So which is like
played.
Have you played it?
No.
Oh damn. I mean,
I've watched you
Sekiro,
play it once. I think.
yeah, it's the most recent game to have been released by the makers of like the Dark Souls series, and like Sekiro, like every other Dark Souls game, is like one of like the underlying like themes is immortality. So like in Sekiro, it's kind of cool because um I mean, just like as a side note, like Sekiro is like super heavily influenced by like Buddhism, Buddhism in Japan specifically. Um, but like the Senpu monks are like they're these monks who like turned away from like their religion and stuff, and instead of like chased after like this form of immortality that's also like like a corrupted version of it. So they basically like become like evil, but like you go through like act one basically like learning how to play the game, but then like when you get to act two, which is like their stage, it's just like they're like super fast and like totally different from like what all like the enemy types that you fight up until then.
Yeah.
But like you get to like learn some of their moves and stuff, and like yeah, definitely like kind of cool because they're basically just trying to like recreate, like it's like an artificial version of immortality that they're making.
Oh.
So it's like pretty cool because it's like, yeah, man, there's so much to talk about that. But moving on, Jedi.
Oh yeah, yeah. like yeah, and like it's funny because I think Jedi have come up like in 3 different episodes. Like
Yeah.
you know, they're fucking space wizards, but also monks
Space
and
paladins.
samurai. Yeah, and paladins. It's fucking
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I just like couldn't not bring it up.
Oh, that's super fair. Yeah.
Even wear the robes.
Yeah.
Actually, and
Actually,
the meditation and everything, it's all there.
my actually another video game reference is from Fable 2, which I've actually started like playing recently just for fun, even though like I haven't played it since like 2009. But so like I mean, like the Fable series is basically just like satire fantasy, and they have like so you have like the Temple of Light and the Temple of like Evil or Dark or whatever. But like so like when you first get to like the Temple of Light, they have like all these chants and stuff like that, but it's like very like dry humor because like they have like a chant where if you speak to them too much, like the monks, like if you just like click on them, they'll start chanting I need a new mantra, and like it's like stuff like that. Like it's like satire like of like I guess like a Christian monk. But then you have like the Temple of Dark, and if you like join like their ranks and stuff, you get to like this stage where like you have to bring them sacrifices, and like you get like more points if it's like someone that like your character has like a relationship with, like be that like family or like a partner or whatever. Or you could also just like basically like lie to like an NPC and like trick them into like marrying you, and then you get like even more points from sacrificing them. But the way that they sacrifice is it's like a Wheel of Fortune thing. So like it's like a game show. So like you walk into like this like evil like inner sanctum of like this like super dark like demon worshiping place, and then it's just like a massive game show. And like the head and like I guess like the head priest or whatever like for like the Temple of Dark is just like, and we have like our new initiate who's like brought in our second like our new guest or whatever. Then you have to like spin this wheel. It has like all these different sacrifices, and like one of them is like they turn into like a chicken, and like other times they get just like burst into flames, or they're like hit with like a lightning bolt or something, or they like fall through a trap door into a bunch of spikes or something.
Yeah.
But that's definitely what like I was like thinking about like monks. That was like what the first thing that pops into mind.
The evil monks.
Man,
Yeah.
I forgot like how good
Wheel
Fable
of Fortune for the Dark Lord.
yeah. Definitely highly recommend Fable 2, by the way. Definitely, it still holds up. Yeah, I guess to followed up Krillin from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I think besides Super Saiyans, everybody, because they're genetic, like they're different. They're a different race that can do these things.
Like
but
me.
Krillin, Master Roshi, Yamcha, Tien, all those human dudes, they're just like, yeah, like Will. Just really great. And again, I'm not going to go into power skills of Dragon Ball Z because we'll be here for another 45 minutes. But I think it just speaks to how strong the Saiyans are, that these guys who are stronger than any other humans, like by a long shot, like can't even stick around in the fight against what Goku's fighting.
But I don't know, with every new saga, power scales change, man. Oh yeah, I guess just off the top of my head, like Liu Kang, Raiden, Kung Lao.
All those guys from those types of games for sure.
Like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
That's all I got, man.
Yeah, no. Those are all good examples. I think like
they are.
It's I really like the game show one. That's fucked up.
Yeah, man, if you ever get I'm sure you can find like a clip of it on YouTube. It's hilarious.
All right, I'll look it up. Put a link in the description. Anyway, so let's talk about now, if you were going to play a monk, what type of monk would you choose? What would your character be like? We'll start with you, Luca.
I mean, like off the top of my head, I just want to be the Avatar.
Yeah,
I want 4 elements.
Yeah.
How would you be different from Aang or Korra?
I mean, probably a lot more murderous than Aang.
Yeah.
And Korra for sure. But I don't know, actually. I would want to be like an Aang that is not afraid of, like a Shaolin monk version of Aang.
Like what race class, or sorry, what race are you thinking?
I mean, if I wasn't a human, I would want to be a human. But if I couldn't be human,
you can be a human.
A lawn gnome.
A non-human, maybe a tiefling. I think that would be cool.
Okay, well, I'll say mine. I've actually built a character. I don't know. Okay, so when you're a DM in Dungeons and Dragons, you go, man, what a sweet idea for a character that'll never play. And then it sits in your character vault until someone's like, I'd like to run a game. And you're like, okay, great. I have 8 pages of a backstory. And they're like, oh, maybe not. Well, at least for me, I shouldn't speak for all DMs, but that's definitely what it's like for me. So I've made this character called Kurugane, and they are a tiefling woman, pitch black skin. And the most visually interesting thing about them is they have golden eyes and piercings all over their body, and their tattoos are like gold inlays because she was a slave, and the person she was sold to was like this insane artist who like was totally deranged and like did all these weird things, and then eventually he like took her eyes out with a knife, and then she killed him. and then was like taken by like some stick type of dude and trained to be a monk. So she's a shadow monk because she, I don't know, I thought it was cool.
Yeah,
and my character sheet is like black and gold. It looks so sick right now. They have this new like dark mode on D&D Beyond. It's like perfect. Anyways.
That's like a pretty close copy, or not a copy, I guess. Like it's like super similar to like the backstory for a character in Divinity Original Sin.
Oh shit.
But it's an elf, and instead of being a monk, it's like a rogue / assassin, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty much the vibe I'm going for.
Yeah.
She holds a knife in her tail. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
And she's blind, obviously, because she has no eyes. So you can now have blind sense as like a fighting what is it called? Skill or whatever. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Huh. I kind of like.
I was excited to never play this character.
I think I heard or no, yeah. I think I was like talking about, or like might have mentioned it during or druids or maybe rangers. But I think I like had mentioned like if there was like a campaign storyline where like rangers are just like I guess like younger, inexperienced druids.
Yeah.
But like you could also have like let's say like keeping with that I guess like societal like setup, you could also have like Way of the Four Elements monks as well, like as well as rangers.
Oh,
like,
feeding into druid.
yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that'd be kind of cool, like a sage druid.
Yeah, for sure.
That's probably how I go with it. Like,
I think that's what the avatar is, right? Like,
yeah,
you start as a Way of the Four Elements, and at some point you become a 20th level druid. Like,
yeah.
so that's the character you would play as well?
Yeah, I think like something like that, like a kind of, yeah.
I'd also like to play like a gnome with no arms, like, and just like crazy, like just kicking people into like maybe like Way of the Open Palm and just like kicking people's soul out of their chest. It'd be so funny. Oh, it'd be awesome. Yeah, I think Monk is a super fun class to play. For me, I think it would rate maybe in my top 5. Yeah. What about you guys?
I mean, I've never played a monk. I've only had a monk played in the game that
You got
I'm
played
running.
by a monk.
That sounds bad.
R.I.P.
Damn, bro, that hurts.
They seem really useful and they look super cool.
Yeah.
And reading like the abilities of some of them is like really interesting, especially that critical role monk. That was super cool, actually. Maybe that's actually what I'd want to play.
I think the note too, like when the monk came into your campaign, we also had new players coming in as well, and it just turned the campaign into such an anime, like instantly.
Oh yeah, just
like
the way
everything just got so like amplified. And the new person Mal, who will be running the game for us, came in and was like, "Man, I love this. The guys play like so anime." And we're like, "Oh, I don't know. I guess it just sort of happened." What
yeah,
about you?
I would rank monk.
Sorry.
Yeah, top 5 for sure.
Okay.
After all the magic users.
So would you say then, because 4 different magic users, so sorcerer, or okay, for you it's like wizard, sorcerer, artificer, warlock, and then monk?
Artificers are not a thing for me. I've never heard of them. They're wizards to me.
Okay.
I
think that's fair, to be honest.
I don't see the need for the distinction at all.
Yeah.
And I would put monk ahead of warlock.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
So maybe like top 3.
Yeah, top 3. So does it edge out fighter for you? Because I think you said fighter was in your top 3 as well.
Yes,
Okay,
it does edge out fighter for sure.
I guess like if we're going to include magic users, I'd probably place monk 6 or 7. Yeah, I don't know.
Wow, that's pretty low.
Yeah, but we're also forgetting about bards too. I mean, bard is like dead last.
I'm not forgetting about bard. It's way down there.
Bard is so up there for me.
Yeah.
Paladin.
We need to wonder.
The best character by a long shot. It's so cruel. Like I have all these sick characters I want to play, and then like when it comes down to it, I'm like, fuck it, I'll play Juanit. It's such a disservice to myself. Yeah, how do you guys feel like overall the importance to monks in fantasy games, whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I mean, definitely like I think it's like cool, but also I mean you run the risk of like weird like stereotypes, and also just like kind of just like going over like I feel like it could also become like super boring.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Like if it's just like too much, I don't know, or if it's just like super like plain just like martial arts, like I don't know, it depends. Depends on how it's written.
yeah. We should just name the show that.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think it's like cool because it's like definitely adds like more like diversity in regards to like, I guess, like the combat makeup of like a party or something. But I feel like if there's like more than one monk, it would be kind of it'd become anime.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely has the ability to. And it's one thing I've never seen before: multiple monks in the same party.
Yeah.
I think they're super important just because they're so unexplored, especially in like fantasy literature.
Yeah.
Like just
I feel
that
like
the power system, quote unquote, of a monk, like the inner perfection and like understanding yourself in the world and key and that kind of like inner energy is just so unused. Like all of it's explained with either like exterior force or like a magic that exists in the world. Like I think it's just something that's not very used in modern fantasy, or like starting to be more used in modern fantasy works, and it's super interesting and adds a lot of diversity to the stories that are written, which makes reading them a lot more exciting.
Yeah, I feel like the class, like for like I guess like D&D class, like it has like a lot of potential, but I feel like a lot of times from like usually like what I've seen like in fantasy, it's like kind of like often just like surface level stuff. Like, oh, we have this dude living in a monastery who learned martial arts and then has some sort of like access to like this magical energy that's not magic.
Yeah.
But like I feel like like you could do like so much more with it and like get super into depth.
Yeah, I agree. I think like Naruto is a pretty good example of how far you can take that. Obviously, like I think there are some issues with power scale in Naruto, not as egregious as fucking Dragon Ball Z. I think for the most part, everything's explained well in Naruto when there needs to be a power jump. And there's always sort of levels to the shit. Whereas Dragon Ball Z is just like more power, and that's it. And
Suddenly to destroy entire universes and stuff and realities and shit.
I don't. Let's not get into it. I can't do it, man. I'm having a good day. Yeah, no. I would like to see. So I did forget to mention there was a book, Anthony Ryan, uh, not the Call of the Wolf, but the Black Song, where there's a order of monks in there that are really cool. Some of them, well, I won't spoil anything about that series, but they have some sort of powers. Yeah, that's super cool. But I would like to see more monks in traditional fantasy. I think, yeah, because traditional fantasy was all European based. There wasn't room for that, and I think that's why, like in the earlier editions of D&D, you see monks as Catholic monks. But I think having like that Shaolin Buddhist monk sort of flavor is much cooler. I have no problem saying that, especially the way it's portrayed in D&D, to be like this, perfect being ninja parkour expert, like
Totally.
just way cooler.
Way cooler.
So yeah. Yeah, I think that'll do it for our conversation about monks, unless you guys have anything to add.
Oh,
I do.
monks are super cool.
Go ahead, Will.
I forgot, or maybe not forget, but I didn't get into depth about Metro 2033, but I think I'm gonna save it for rogues.
Ah, okay.
I think it fits a little bit. The character I want to talk about fits better with rogues. So
Okay. Yeah, and I think there is a lot of room between the two, rogue and monk. Like I said, I would play multi-class of those two in some aspects. Being able to turn into a shadow and then get sneak attack damage is fucking insane. So
yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this is the first time I ever actually looked at the monk pages. Like quivering palm. Are you seeing this shit? It's a remote detonation.
Yeah, it's sick, man. You could just stun people.
Yeah.
Like,
there's
there's
on the same plane of reality, I guess. Like
it's sort of like the Doctor Strange
and just like, okay, yeah,
punched in the chest type of thing,
yeah,
or like the Hulk, like, oh shit, bring me back my body. There's this movie, ridiculous movie, but highly recommend. It's called Kung Fu Hustle.
Yes.
Have you seen this?
Yeah.
There's a great scene in this movie, which I might kill the joke for any who haven't seen it, but this kid's being bullied. and this girl he knows is being bullied, and so he wants to learn how to fight back against the bullies. And this guy on the street says, "Here, take this. It's only $10 or whatever." And it's this book on the judo palm, secret techniques passed down for centuries. And he learns this, and then he confronts his bullies, and he does the judo palm, and then he just like looks down at his hand and he's like, "The fuck?" They beat the actual shit out of this kid, and it's like his defining memory as a child. It's a really fucking awesome movie, but it's probably I won't vouch for it being of the times or appropriate, but I think it's on Netflix. So yeah, it's ridiculous but cool. Yeah, okay, so I think that'll do it. Again, we have Rogues next week. Following that will be Spellcasters, and then finally we'll get to actually playing a game of D&D, hosted again, or ran by, I should say, Malachi, friend of the show. So we only have 2 episodes left. I know. Okay, so Will, you're gonna end up playing a bard, that's for sure. You just said on this week it was the lowest of the low. He's crying.
Well, I hate those two, and
yeah, totally. Nah. But Luca, where is your head at right now for the lowest of the low for you?
I don't know. Like between bard and druid, yeah, honestly, I mean, I like warlocks as a concept, but I don't like them in D&D at all because of like the no spell slots and
limited. I know you hate
that infuriates me. It's like, what's the point?
I agree, but
so that would be like very stifling for the way I like to play, which is just spells on spell.
Fireball, lightning bolt.
So honestly, I'm somewhere around like maybe druid. I don't want to be a bard. That's.
I think we all 3 just play bards and be a boy band.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe we'll get to that eventually. And Will's character from this one shot will be the leader. So right now we'll lock you in for druid maybe.
Yes.
And I'll be a fucking paladin.
Yeah, you have to be a paladin.
I already have one built, and I'm actually excited to play it. So maybe I'll have to take back and eat the crow. But yeah, so thank you for watching. Remember, you can check out Ruminations. We actually had the distinct pleasure of Evan Winter retweeting our post and telling people to listen to our show. So if you needed any other reason to watch, the author of the book we reviewed said we're cool guys.
Hell yeah.
He didn't say that, but I know he meant it.
Oh, bro,
we know.
Yeah, we know. Yeah, so check out Ruminations. Keep an eye out for Unabashed, where I do a one-on-one interview with people. But yeah, and check out our show every Tuesday. So as always, I'm Matt.
I'm Luca.
I'm Will.
And we are the Lords of Lore.